Hello friends, here's wishing you a very good day ahead. So, we present to you lecture number 33 on personal interviews. This is part of module 7, lab practice session 2. As we have told you previously, we have lecture numbers 32, 33, 34 and 35 which are practice sessions or lab sessions on the topic of personal interviews. So, we present to you lecture 33. And this is the practice session 2nd, mock session 2. We have on the panel of interviewers now Ritika Dasgupta, Ankur Agarwal and Purva Chaudhary. On the other hand, as candidates, we have the first candidate being interviewed Akshay Thorat, the second being Rajarshi Trivedi and the third Auritro Lahiri.
May I come in? Yes, please. Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Akshay.
Hello.
So first of all, let us begin by hearing a little about yourself.
First of all, I would like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to introduce myself. I come from Pune, Maharashtra. I did my engineering electronics and telecommunication from MIT Pune. I did my 10th and 12th from Pune itself. I own a startup named Joyful Safari Private Limited. I started this venture 3 years back when I was in 3rd year of my engineering. Talking about my family background, my father works in DRDO, he's a scientist, and my mother works in a government hospital, she's a nurse. Along with that, we have a family business of dairy products. We are the largest seller of dairy products in Maharashtra, 4th largest actually. We have the company named SR Thorat Milk Products Private Limited, and that's it.
Okay, so you mentioned about your startup. Can you elaborate a bit on that?
Yes, actually, I was pretty much interested in. I think I have a business acumen. That's what I felt. And during 2nd year of my engineering, I started with a venture named PicSearch with my few friends. And it was basically a startup where we gathered local painters and we used to sell paintings. So initially it started with a really good bang and we were having a great profits. But after a while there we didn't get, I'm not ashamed to tell you that we didn't, it actually failed. Okay. So to cope up with the debt we had, I had to come up with some other plans. So I started with customized lamps. And after that, again it started with a big bang. Again it was all profit, and we are all happy.
So why do you think that your revenues fell down? What were the drawbacks?
Drawbacks, yes. You see the market for the paintings is very niche. I mean, there are a very elite group of people in Pune. They are interested in paintings. So I had to come up with. I have to always come up with a good idea that would keep my business up. So I started with the customized lamps. Then I started with birthday gifts. So after that, in my 3rd year of engineering, I had to. There was this trip going to Himachal from my college, and someone has to take the responsibility. And I love taking challenges. So the responsible person that was going to be it was me. So I took the challenge, and from there I started this. Tourism. I mean, I entered the tourism business.
So you've always been, doing businesses or starting your startups is something which is being creative.
Yes.
What would you want to elaborate on the creative side that you have in you? On why did you choose those products when you started your startups?
You see, I've always been creative. I have been doing. Apart from this, I've been part of many events. I mean, I was the PR head of my college. I was the part of Purushottam. I was the best supporting actor of Maharashtra in event Purushottam, which is the largest event in Maharashtra. So I think there is a creative side inside me, and I'm exploring it. Even I don't know much about it, but I'm still exploring it. And yes, there is. And I was again part of my cricket team. I led my cricket team in engineering, as well as I was the second runner-up in my standard 10th. I was the vice captain there. And
you mentioned that
yes.
You love challenges.
Yes.
So tell me one situation in which there was a lot of trouble you faced and you faced that situation.
During engineering, actually, there was this event, and I was the head of that event actually, and we were in great debt. The last year we were in a situation where we could not even start that year's event. So what I had to do was I really motivated my team. I went to my friends, I went to my team, and I had to motivate them first. Then I had to come up with a few ideas where I started to take sponsorship from local vendors, because no one was ready to give me the sponsorship. So I started with the local vendors. I even got the sponsorship of Vada Pav Wala. So from there what I started, and I'm a hustler basically. I love to take challenges.
So I believe that you've got a team.
Yes.
You all got from college.
Not all of them. I have a partner his name is Vivek Shah. He's my business partner, and he is from my college.
So do you recruit?
Yes.
You do
But
recruit.
yes, we don't have the. I mean, we have the small business. We have the small startup. We are just a team of 14.
But you have recruited in the past.
Yes.
So what is the one thing you look for in a candidate?
He should be a hustler, just like me. He should be loving the business what I love. That's the thing I love. I mean, that's the thing I look into a person.
So we are interviewing you for the role of Chief Fun Officer.
Yes.
So you would be designing activities to keep up the employees happy throughout their life cycle.
And this is in an IT environment, in a software environment.
Yeah,
Yes.
in case you are a CFO, probably there will be days when you are depressed, when you are sad and not feeling what you you generally do.
Yes.
So as you said, you're a hustler. What do you do in such situations when you're really gloomy and you have to plan fun activities for your employees?
You see, I have been part of many events. I've been doing trekking and everything stuff. I was a part of the K2S, which is one of the major event in Pune, which is again I was part of Kalsubai Trek, which is the highest peak in Maharashtra. So I love doing such kind of events, and I think that would help me. Somewhere it will help me if I'm the CFO of a company.
What is the one major reason of the lack of motivation in employees, do you think, nowadays?
Lack of motivation. I think the work, the overload of the work they have. I think that is one of the reason they are depressed, and I think the time they can't give it to the family. And I think the role of the CFO plays here the important role, where he can engage them in activities where he can come out of his depression, and he can concentrate more on the work.
Can you name some activities that you would like to initiate or think of planning throughout your career?
I think I'll probably do many events, like on the holidays maybe we can do cricket, maybe cricket events. Then we have the Rangoli competitions. Then we can do in the events like Diwali, we can have maybe competitions like article writing or something like that.
So I believe that the startup is still working. Your startup is still going.
Yes.
So would you be able to manage both the responsibilities?
Definitely. I have my partner working there, so I'll be happy
So you
to
wish
work
to
with
make
him.
profit from both the sides.
Yes, definitely.
Definitely.
I love
But aren't
making money.
these fields two very different fields? Like you would be working in something which is very business related and
Yes.
which is more into strategy and more into money and finance. But here you'll be working as a fun officer. So do you think you can draw a line between these two fields that you want to work in?
Definitely. I think every field you have to learn something, and you can take something out of that. So I think definitely the work of CFO will definitely help me somewhere in my business, and that's what I feel.
Okay. So any questions?
So any
for
questions
us?
for us?
It will be fine.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Akshay.
you.
It was nice talking to you.
May I come in?
Yes, please.
Good evening to all of you.
Good
evening, Rajesh.
Please have a seat.
Please have a
Thank you very much.
So, hi Rajoshi.
Hello.
Let's start about knowing a bit about yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Rajoshi. I've been working with Tata Consultancy Services for the last 2 years with one of its largest clients in the pharmaceutical domain. I've been working into application development and support primarily. Learned a lot about technicalities of application and how they are handled. Then a lot about task orientation, team engagement, negotiation within team, clients, difficult clients rather. So it was a good experience. Now rewinding to my education, I completed my schooling and college both from Kolkata. In fact, work for TCS in Kolkata, and now I'm kind of planning to move out of Kolkata. So hoping for that basically. And coming a bit to my personal interests, I'm into reading. I'm a crazy football fan. I like to think a lot on issues. I read up on psychology to international relations to politics, and I try to think deeply on issues and how they impact stakeholders and the best possible solution. So I've been into reading, and debating is consequently my hobby along with social services. So that kind of covers more or less about me in a nutshell.
You said you want to move out of Kolkata. Any
Yeah.
particular reason?
For a change, that's the only reason probably.
Which is your favorite football club?
Club is the one in Germany, Bayern Munich. They are my favorite for the last 10 years, and country of course is Germany.
So did you watch the iconic match between Bayern Munich and Dortmund?
Yeah, obviously that was the great finals of 2013. UCL, wherein Robin's goal became famous, and they've lifted the UCL in 2013. But post that, their performance haven't been pretty much good, and they are struggling with entry of new players and exit of seniors. So that's a change process which every football team goes through, and I hope they come out of it soon.
What's the meaning of the name Rajashri?
Well, it's a portmanteau of two words. Basically, it means Raj plus Rishi, or in other words, a king who is a saint at heart.
A king who has a.
Who is saintly at heart.
So, what attributes or what qualities describe you?
Probably my empathy is one of them. I have fellow feeling for individuals. I displayed that quite well in my work with TCS. I was into, as I said, I worked with a large client, and our team was very big as well. So I was assigned a task of assigning tickets to my teammates. So I really had to look into who could do what and what were the capabilities of my team members.
How does that make you a king?
It doesn't make me a king. I was talking of my empathy. So, yeah.
You didn't understand my question. Well, so we were talking about the international relationships. So, what do you think? India's growing relationships with USA. Any comments on that?
Yeah,
if we compare India's relationships with USA and that of Russia.
Well, India obviously stands at a better picture on many fronts. Like the increasing number of deals we are having with the US, especially in terms of defense, is probably one of the largest in the world. However, we need relations with Russia as well, and the recent purchase of S-400 missiles from Russia, which haven't got down well with the US, is one of them. And I think it needs a lot of diplomacy at the top level politics to deal with that. And we have the right people in the right positions in where they matter. So I kind of think, with the US, we do share a good relation in terms of foreign investment, exchange of information to services in the IT and products as well.
You said there are right people in right positions. So are you a Modi bhakt?
Not really. I wouldn't say I'm not a bhakt, but I wasn't referring to political leaders per se. I was more or less referring to the right agents in our defense, probably the military head to the NSA, National Security Advisors, to other important diplomats who deal in public international relations.
Why do you think there's a growing need of forming relationships with USA or say Russia for that matter? What is that India is
Because
needing?
essentially we are moving towards globalization, and to become, in fact it's said that we are becoming a global village. So closeness is essential, otherwise we can't proceed as a nation being isolated. So international relations at present is of utmost importance with respect to India, because we are essentially a developing economy. Some would say we are superpower, we are next 21st century superpower, but I would say we can't be a superpower and a super poor nation at the same time. So a lot of things need to be seen and developed, and we need the help of nations. Yes.
Which is your favorite tree?
Banana,
Why?
because I love fruits, and banana is one of my favorites.
Do you think banana grows on a huge tree or a very small tree?
It's probably average medium.
So this interview is being conducted with the role of a chief fun officer.
Okay.
So any idea why you require a chief fun officer in a software firm?
Yeah, sure. There are requirements of fun in terms of it has to go in sync with their work. Like we have difficult work hours here in IT, and fun is an essential component of motivation, I believe, as per the theory of motivations described by Douglas McGregory, whom I was reading recently. He speaks in the human side of enterprise about theory of two personalities, theory X and theory Y, and states that human motivation depends a lot on what they are faced with at their work. So if and fun is essential because it kind of motivates them and increases their productivity.
Okay, so tell me 3 measures you bring about in the workplace to reduce stress for the employees.
Stress could be number one, obviously, say more engagement with the hierarchical levels up the order with managers. Free and open door policy would be a good welcome move where normal employees communicate with their managers more freely, coming up with ideas, exchange of ideas that would be flexible instead of a closed door one. So that would be primary one. Second would be rewards and recognition parameters have to be improved. As far as the IT is concerned, there is no equity in terms of compensation and performance at present, or rather it is pretty skewed. So I would recommend that as a second point. Third point would be say more of social initiatives. We had something called TCS Fit for Life or Purpose for Life, which were health initiative and a social service initiative, which kind of led to more exchange of thoughts and ideas while working for the society. So these kind overall will reduce stress levels and make employees more motivated, leading to more productivity, more revenue, and essentially more profits.
Are you self-motivated?
Absolutely.
Justify.
Well, I like my work. I did passionately whatever I did, right from school to my projects to my extracurricular to my profession. So I am pretty much
Talking about your
self-motivated.
profession in TCS, what roles were supposed to be performed by you?
Mine was into application development and enhancement with support. So that
So
was
from application development. Why do you want to switch your role to chief?
well.
officer?
As I explained, I like to read up a lot on issues about people, about their motivation, what drives them forward, and things like that. So it is kind of an interesting role,
So
and
probably
I'd like
you
to.
can join an NGO probably then.
Yeah, I'm already associated with NGOs at IIT Kharagpur. I'm working with GYWS. Is one of them. Right, even in school, I've worked at TCS. I have associated with TCS Maitri, which is basically a social service platform of the
So why wouldn't
organization.
you want to associate it with an NGO, a core NGO firm, rather than why are you here in an IT firm looking for a CFO job?
Well, I essentially consider social services as a side-on activity along with my primary goal of work. That is, I'm more inclined and motivated towards people engagement, and fun is obviously one of them. So I'm essentially looking forward to work in that area.
I think that's it. Any more questions, Rajeshri, for us?
Probably, yeah. Along with fun, I would like to know what other areas does your company work on to motivate employees, right? So fun is obviously one parameter, but where else could we tap on to motivate employees? I mean that your company is currently working on.
Okay, so as you mentioned about rewards and recognition, so our company has a extremely flexible system of rewards and recognitions, wherein the employees of the quarter or employees of the month, they are actually given certain number of, they are given certain recognitions and
Okay.
awards. A town hall is held, wherein in front of all the employees that belong to the BU, they are awarded. So that I think definitely adds a lot of motivation to the employees because their work is being
Yeah.
recognized. Apart from that, appreciation mails, they do a huge, I think they bring about a huge positive change wherein your work is appreciated by the clients. It's recognized by the client as well. Apart from that, we allow flexible working hours. There's a restriction that you have to be present in office even when you don't have any work. So I think These are some of the measures we
Okay.
have already employed.
That was interesting and insightful. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajesh.
And students, we also wanted to tell you that there is a third candidate in this lecture number 33. The candidate number 3 is in panel number 2A, as you see on the slide in front of you. This is lecture 33 and this is a small diversion we have made to accommodate the candidates who would like to be interviewed during the lab session and mock session. We have for you the candidate Aritra Lahiri, and the panel of interviewers interviewing him will be Kustav Sengupta, Tanvi Ajit and Mohammad Hashim Ali. So, let us view the 3 candidates being interviewed by 2 panels of interviewers.
May I come in?
Yes, sure.
Yeah, sure.
Good evening, everyone.
Good
Good
evening.
evening, Anitra. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine.
How was your day?
It was nice.
It was nice.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, let's
So,
start.
just you have come forward and then something you would like to introduce yourself, which is just, it is written in your resume, everything, but still I want to know from your end.
Sure. I've done my schooling and engineering, and then I went into a software industry where I worked for some years, and now I have applied for this role of fund officer in your organization.
Okay, so
That's
why do
pretty
you
much.
think like a fund officer is required in an organization?
See, in these days, stress is building up like anything. Psychological stress is the most prevalent thing in these days in an organization, be it to that of a manager, be it to that of a senior manager, to a delivery manager, maybe to the ground level engineer.
Okay.
Everyone is going through a lot of stress in their own lives, in their personal lives, and work-life balance is being hampered like anything. So, for that, to combat that, we need to have fund officers in the organization, and it's a very new concept, and I am very eager to join you as a fund officer.
So, but don't you think that you are, as according to your resume, I am able to see that you have a command in language and as well as you have got the awards and recognition in your job, in previous jobs. So, you are a very technically sound guy. Why you are just coming, or you can say moving from IT background to HR background? Don't you think that you have been done something better in that particular field where you were?
Yes, I could have done better, but this is what I feel that this is most relevant, and this interests me the most now. Why? Because by virtue of my association with the industry for the past few years, I have noted these things very closely. I have seen them, experienced it very closely. The problems that ground level employees are going through in terms of their peer pressure, in terms of the pressure from the manager, in terms of the pressure from the grading system, maybe in terms of the managers also. The managers are also facing huge pressure in terms of the attrition. HRs are facing huge pressure. The entire organization is in huge pressure in terms of psychological pressure of employees. So to combat that, we really need a fund officer, and myself being from a technical ground, not from a technical expertise only, but having such an demonstrated experience over the years, I think I can contribute to this area also.
Okay, so shall I give you a case
Sure.
situation? Okay, so we have this company and you have planned for this fun activity or like an engagement program, but then you see that people are not turning up, so they prefer not coming and they're taking the day off. So it's going unproductive. So the entire idea that you've planned is not fulfilled. So like, how do you tackle this?
Yeah, definitely. That will be a challenge in the beginning because see, we can't have a day for fun activities. We can't keep a Monday
Okay.
in peak business hours for fun activities. We can't do that. We can't keep a day for fun activities. What we have to do is in the middle of working hours, maybe in a 9-hour working day, we have to include maybe half an hour to 1 hour of fun activities in the middle of the day.
Right.
Then people will be there in office to participate in those, and it will be in common consensus of the entire group in which kind of activities they want to participate. What are their areas of interest? Maybe people shy and introvert people may get interested to read books. They are often reading books, so we may conduct a quiz session with them.
Yes.
People with knack in playing, people with credits in playing.
Yes.
So they can be motivated through playing sessions like organizing games, maybe cricket, maybe football, maybe a small cycling race.
Okay.
That would also help.
So yeah, that is very true. Interests can be different. So like,
Yes.
what interests you? What are your hobbies and what do you
My
like?
hobby
to-
is basically photography and
Okay.
traveling.
Traveling.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah, given the fact that you have so much of technical experience and you have done engineering over the last, you've done engineering and come to this field. So how do you think you can implement the technicality of your knowledge into the fun officer thing? Because fun officer is a very offbeat track, and which is not completely a technical thing. But how can you implement technicalities into this? How do you combine both of them?
Technicalities, as in by virtue of my association, I have closely had a look towards how the industry works, how the people in the industry work. Maybe in a project which is undergoing a execution stage, there may be shifts, maybe couple of shifts, maybe 3 shifts, A, B, C. So people in C shift may be working in that shift for the last 10 days, 12 days. So I know what they are going through. I have gone through that. So I have gone through the technical intricacies of a particular project. So I understand that, and how that actually impacts our mindset is also pretty much well understood from my
So do you
side.
think that you can implement your engineering skills somewhere in this chief fun officer post?
Engineering skills.
Because you have done your engineering and then you have done pure technical job for the last few years.
Yes.
So do you think that
See,
you can implement that?
engineering, as in how I perceive it, is not only technical. It's about how you know the industry, how much you are exposed to the industry. So that is more of engineering, not just expertising in a particular model of electronic or something electrical or something computer. That doesn't really cater to the entire engineering branch. What is engineering is basically getting exposed to the organization and being having that exposure to the industrial environment. So I have that. I can bring that with me in the organization.
so can you tell me like 2 qualities that you've gained during your experience, or it can be during your BTech days or it can be during your working?
More
Maybe-
relevant, yeah.
Yeah, we meant to share like something experience which you can share with us, and you have worked in this particular area sometime, and then you can.
Like what you've
Say
built
as a
on
proof for
yourself
us.
or you've gained from out of it.
Sure. First and foremost is to empathize with people.
Okay.
I have undergone tremendous pressure situations in my projects, and I have seen people interacting in various ways to that. And I have seen the managers, the HRs interacting to people, addressing the issues, and all these experiences have made me to interact with people more, have made me capable to interact with people more, and I think I can empathize with people. That's the primary
If you
quality.
can cite an example, probably that will be easy to understand.
Sure.
Okay, suppose there is an organization which is newly established, or you can say that is established last 5 years only, and there is different level of associates who is working there, right? Maybe some freshers are there, and some people are with experience of having 3 year or 4 year, and some people who is having the experience of more than 10 to 12 years. So different level of personalities are there. So how you will tackle the situation to make a common fun activities for all of them, or maybe sometimes such kind of event you want to put in front of them that will be separating from one another. Have you some idea which you can represent in
Definitely.
front of?
First of all, nowadays big organizations are running by HRMS software, cloud-based software. So we'll introduce a pulse survey for that.
Okay.
Every month we'll roll out a pulse survey among the employees. What kind of fun activities they actually want to get into, and the highest vote, whichever in area it will be, will promote that.
Now, given the fact that different IT companies or any company have some stressful work environment and so much of workload, do you think that people really give very importance to this pulse service, and do they really put time into it? They can obviously give any comments or any answers to them. That could completely change the way that you perceive the things. So do you think the pulse survey can be important?
That can happen, but yes, I think we should introduce pulse survey. In the beginning, I think it may not have that much footfall as we are expecting, but in the beginning, just I told that maybe in a 9-hour working day we will keep half an hour separately, and then in half an hour we suddenly start doing something. Maybe in terms of the HR team getting inside the floor, or the fun team getting inside the floor, promoting some event, taking the interested guys out of it, making them participate, and making the full enjoyment out of it.
Okay.
maybe a slow cycle race,
Okay.
maybe a shoot at balloon,
Okay.
something like
So
that.
because you said you love photography, can you so you have people in the company who are like interested in photography and traveling, as you said. So like what activities can you suggest for them to like improve their or engage themselves, engage these people?
Actually, yeah. By virtue of my association with last company, I was exposed to that as well. So I'd like to highlight that. Photography is an excellent passion to follow, and people who love to do photography will actually be interested in events of photography, like maybe crumbs, maybe city life, maybe traveling to remote places
Yeah.
and finding out stories from there with an article and a photo.
Okay.
And we have our own cloud-based enterprise solutions. So if we can make a e-journal every month or every 6 months maybe, and we can invite articles, we can invite photos from people who are interested, so they will love to participate in that. At least I did.
Okay.
And I have seen a lot of participation in my last company. So that will attract participation from their part, and
Yeah,
they will
definitely.
keep engaged, they will be engaged.
Okay, as you said that these kind of activities you will do, right? So don't you think that there is a very less amount is given for the arranging these kind of event for the finance sector I'm talking about? There is only 1 or 2% is invested in the field of finance, fun activities, and there is such event which is coming up in front of you, and you want to hold this event for the coming session. So how you will tackle this situation to get much more amount from the department? How you will put your proposal and which kind of things which you will do?
Actually, I would think the other way around. Actually, I don't need much budget for this also. How I perceive it is mainly whatever stress is there in the company is because of the final grading system and promotion, hikes, compensation, and employee satisfaction related to that. So for that, a simple appreciation mail will cater to their need. A simple appreciation mail every week or every 2 weeks, if that is mandated to the manager, that every week you have to appreciate at least one member of your team, and that appreciation has to be counted for while you are doing the yearly
But
gradations.
the problem is we have low performing people in the team. So how do you tackle that? Because we have to like do something about it. Yeah, they are underperforming. So in that case,
I'll
what do you
reframe the
do?
question in a way. Probably it's the last one I'll ask. Is that given that you're a fun officer, suppose, and you have to held fun activities for them. First of all, you have to know the stress level of the people, how much they are stressed or how much they are active or not. So how do you think you can measure these stress levels? How much you can measure the emotional factor of the people? How do you know them?
I have to interact with people actually. Our team will basically interact with people and find out what all areas they are actually lagging behind, or they are struggling, or they are thinking about leaving the organization.
Okay.
That may be because of their location of preference is not given to them, maybe because the hike was not as per their expectation. These are two major areas actually, that's why I wanted to point out. Maybe because of promotion. So see, promotion, hike and all that is depending on the top management. We can't do, as a fund officer, we can't do anything about it, but at least we can make their hours in office more bearable, more happier, at least by the means of some activities in which their managers or their team can engage them. That's why I told about appreciation. Not really that appreciation always means meeting goals and then only appreciating. Appreciating in various ways. A person who is not meeting his goals probably, maybe a good person, good at heart. He is a what should I say? He empathizes with people. He caters to the need of other people. That is also required. So appreciation in such terms is also beneficial, I think.
Okay. So that will
So
probably.
I think we're done. And
Yeah, we
I
are.
think I'm
So anything that you want to ask us?
any feedback and anything, something which you want to ask for your point of view?
Not really. Since you talked about the budget, so budget allocated to fund department and all. So what is your take on that?
actually we are having a team, and for this particular purpose we directly connect with the especially CHRO, who is the head of the organization, and through which we just put our proposal, and we will try to implement all the things like whatever the proposal we have, and then according to that we will deal accordingly. If there is something which is required very importantly, then we will take the decision from there only. We are not going to take permission from their own only. So this is the take which we used to follow, and I think in future you will get to know when once you will come inside the organization.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was nice interacting with you.
Okay.
So, none of this would be complete if we are not able to express our gratitude and heartfelt thanks to the students of the MHRM first year at the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences at the IIT Kharagpur. And in conclusion, thanks to all of you as well. Thank you and God bless.